Hi, I'm Tami Neilson, and I'm going to sing a song for you that I wrote called No Good for My Soul.
You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You're no good for my soul. Looking for the man from Galilee, hoping he could set me free from this devil inside of me. You're no good for my soul. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You're no good for my soul. He bit the apple and it tasted sweet. That old devil swept her off her feet, made her lose her mind, just like you're doing to me. You're no good for my soul. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You're no good for my soul. I'm just a woman made of dirt and clay, so easily led astray. I gotta get it right before my judgment day. You're no good for my soul. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. You know I love you, but I gotta let go. 'Cause you're no, you're no good for my soul.
I guess my music, I've always kind of aimed more so than a genre. I feel like I sing an era. That's kind of how do I explain it to people, because I sing country, blues, gospel, rockabilly, soul. All of that music is kind of, within the music that I write and perform. But all of that music, had that golden age, and they all come from that same kind of hotbed of the South, the southern states. And so I just kind of feel like there's no need to really have defined genres. I think that's something that the music industry kind of had to invent to make sure they could market things and kind of put a label on you to go, this is what you are. Whereas nowadays the industry is so different. We're not led by labels or an industry as much as we are by fans and what people want and what people can access. And so I love being able to sing whatever the hell I want. I grew up in a family band called the Neilsons. It was my mom and my dad and my two brothers and I, and we toured all across Canada and where I'm originally from, and the United States for the better part of a decade. All of us in a 40-foot motorhome. We all lived to tell the tale, miraculously. And we had a rule. My mom used to say, if you can't eat it or wear it, you don't get to buy it. So it was pretty tight quarters, but it was a really, really amazing way to grow up. And I think however you grow up is what's normal to you. You don't appreciate it until you get older and look back and go, oh, yeah, not everybody gets to open for Johnny Cash and Loretta Lynn and have these incredible experiences that you kind of take for granted when you're a kid growing up and getting to do that. Well, I moved to New Zealand 12 years ago now, and it was for love. Why else do you move across to the other side of the world? That old chestnut. So, I fell in love with a wonderful man and moved over there, and I've given birth to two of them now, so I think I've officially earned my place in New Zealand. So yeah, I have 2 little boys over there as well, and that's how I ended up hopping across the world from Canada. When I first landed in New Zealand, country music was very much frowned upon and made fun of in the mainstream media. It was always, if they were going to talk about country music, they put on a cowboy hat and put, a bit of hay in their mouth and overalls and talked with a funny accent, and just, it was very much poked fun at. And it kind of had its heyday, I guess, back in kind of the 80s. And so I think the newest generation looked at it as their grandparents' music, or it wasn't something that kind of carried on into the mainstream. And so I definitely felt quite overwhelmed, and it was pretty daunting to start from scratch in a new country, obviously, but also to come to a place where there was no country radio, there was no country magazines, there was nothing really to support the genre. I remember the first time I won Best Country Album at the big music awards, and I was seated back next to the toilets at the back door, But it's but now in the last 10 years that I've been there, and there's been a real groundswell of New Zealand music, artists like Marlon Williams and Nadia Reid and Aldous Harding, all of these artists who are now kind of launching onto a world stage. And so it's really changing a lot in New Zealand. This is my very first time to Europe at all, so I was pretty lucky that my first shows were in Tønder, which is like, your audiences are the best audiences, like anywhere that I've been, and people are so appreciative and just so love their music, and I think you guys have spoiled me for the rest of the tour. I've got 3 weeks to go, and the bar has been raised too high. Now I'm just going to be disappointed that people aren't as wonderful as they are here.